Welcome back to the Untriggered Parenting podcast with me, Paula Lawrence, the space where we talk about healing, self-awareness, and learning to parent from peace instead of pain. So today's episode is for you if you've done the healing work, made intentional decisions with your parenting, read all the books, followed all the parenting coaches, and actually put what they've told you into practice, who've broken cycles, made your home feel safe for your children, only to find that safety brings up a whole heap of new emotions. So we're talking about the conflicting feelings that can arise when you're raising children who are secure because you did all the work. When they don't have to fawn, perform, or walk on eggshells the same way you once did when you were growing up. And it's a beautiful thing. It's everything you ever wanted. It's exactly where you wanted to be. It's the home you wanted to create. But sometimes it can sting a little, and that can feel very, very confusing. So let's talk about these conflicting feelings. You see, when you've worked hard to heal, the therapy, the inner child work, the conscious parenting, you expect to feel proud, and you do feel proud of yourself. You've worked really hard and you've been very intentional, but sometimes right alongside the pride and excitement and feeling good about what you've done and how far you've come, something else can sneak in. A quiet ache, a wave of sadness, and sometimes even a little bit of guilt, a little bit of resentment even. You know, when your child speaks up for themselves confidently, tells you exactly how they feel about certain things, you feel pride about that. That's what you want them to do. That's how you've raised them to be. But somewhere deep inside, a little part of you flinches. A little part of you is triggered, let's be honest, because you remember what happened when you tried that when you were younger. When your child says no and expects to be heard, it's powerful because, again, that's what you've done all this work for, to let your children know that their voice matters and they will be heard and you will hear them. But your nervous system might react a little bit like it's dangerous or it's wrong, because back then, saying no wasn't safe. Your voice wasn't heard. And if anything, it might have been stifled. So when your child assumes that love is constant and safe and secure, that they don't have to perform or manage your emotions, it's a wonderful thing. But it can highlight just how much you had to earn love growing up. And when you see your child being carefree, seeing your child resting, sleeping in, laughing, playing, it makes you smile. But then maybe quietly you wonder to yourself, I never got to be that free. I never got to rest. Maybe on Saturday mornings you were up at dawn and you were made to clean the house and that was what was expected. Or it could be anything, you know, things that maybe your child doesn't have to do to feel safe at home or to feel secure or to make the grown-ups in the home happy. And there's a paradox there because you're watching the fruit of your healing, but sometimes it does hold up a mirror to your own wounds, and that's where the triggers can come. So we don't talk enough, I think, about the grief that comes with healing, because it's very sort of one-sided. When you are healing, it's seen as a great thing, which it is. It brings peace, it brings freedom, but it also brings awareness, and that awareness is what often brings the grief. You're grieving that little girl or boy who had to perform for love, grieving the version of you who couldn't say no safely, grieving the family system that couldn't hold your emotions, and, you know, grieving the innocence that your children now get to enjoy that you didn't get to have. You know, watching your child live in the safety that you created is both a miracle and a mirror. It proves that you've changed the stories. It proves that you've broken the patterns, you know, but it also reminds you what your story once was. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're ungrateful. It means that you're human. And you can hold both the grief and the gratitude in the same hand. You can celebrate your child's freedom and mourn your own. You can be that cycle breaker, and still be learning to breathe in the air that you created. So here's what I want you to remember, and it's something I remind myself very, very often, that I am the bridge between two emotional generations. So you're standing in that sacred space between what was and what will be. And your children's security doesn't highlight your lack, it highlights your love. It highlights what you've given them. And their freedom is that evidence. You know, you turn survival into safety, you turn fear into foundation, performance into presence, and through them, through their laughter, their voices, their confidence, their play, their rest, you get to re-experience love that isn't conditional. So when you feel that pang of discomfort, when I feel that pang of discomfort, I try my best to reframe it. Every time your child expresses a real need without fear, you know, you can remind yourself that that's your inner child being healed in real time. You know, when your child rests without guilt, remind yourself, I'm allowed to rest too. When your child messes up and still feels like you love them, that you're not going to reject them, take a deep breath and think that's what love is meant to feel like. And it's compassion. It's compassion for yourself, for compassion for your history, your memory, and how far you've come, really. I'd really love for you to take a moment this week, a few moments maybe, and sit with these questions. Maybe you could turn it into a journaling moment if you're somebody that likes to journal, or you could just have a think about what you'd answer. So the first one is, when do I notice mixed feelings about my child's confidence or security? So really notice those times where you feel triggered by their confidence. Even though half of you is proud, the half of you does switch into, who do they think they're talking to? Who do they think they are? Because you never got to be that way. When does that normally happen? What sort of situations bring those insecurities up, those triggers up? The second one is, what memory or message from my past might that moment touch? So this is just going back into your childhood and moments where it brings up moments where you were not able to maybe act how your child is acting, say the things that your child is able to say, how you felt in those moments, and why watching your children be more secure and feel more safe to express their feelings and express their emotions, and just try to relate it back to why that might trigger you. So number 3 is, how can I remind myself that my child's freedom is part of my healing story too? You know, how can you reframe the situation, not just that it's your child's story, that it's part of your story as well. It's a part of story that you're creating along with their childhood. And when your child's confidence feels triggering, just pause and breathe and remind yourself that this is what safety is, not disrespect, because your nervous system, your memories are, or you're going to be triggered into believing that your child expressing themselves automatically means disrespect, because that's how you were brought up. You couldn't say no, you couldn't have an opinion, you couldn't contradict an adult even if they were wrong. So just reminding yourselves in those times when your body does feel triggered that this is, your child has been safe right now, not disrespectful. And there might be an opportunity actually for you to redefine what disrespect means in your home, because as you know, growing up, just saying no is disrespectful. I'm sure in some households, having an opinion was disrespectful. So you get to rewrite the rules in your home, what disrespect is. And then when you do feel those triggers coming up, constantly reminding yourself that that doesn't fit into what your description of what disrespect actually is. And just remind yourself that you built that safety for your children and for yourself, and you are living proof of generational healing in motion. So parenting from healing is sacred work. It's not easy, but it is transformative for both the parent and the child. And if you ever doubt whether it's worth it, the days where it feels wrong, the days where it feels really, really hard, then just look at your children. Look how freely they laugh, they run, how confidently they speak. how easily they rest. That's your healing that made that happen, that made it visible. That's your legacy. And you can hold grief and gratitude together, and that's okay. Because healing isn't about erasing the past, it's about rewriting the story. And that's what you're doing, that's what you've done. It's so that your children get to grow up in the peace that you deserved as well. You are the bridge. And you are doing it beautifully. So don't ever, ever forget that. So if this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to share it with another healing parent who might need this reminder. And if you haven't already, please follow Untriggered Parenting wherever you listen to your podcast. If it's YouTube, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And please, I would love for you to leave a review so that other parents can find the space. So if there's anything that you've enjoyed, any little gems you've picked up along the way, I'd love for you to leave a review for me. I'd really appreciate it. And until next time, stay gentle with yourself and keep parenting in peace. See you next time.